Let me bring on board Pankaj Pandey as well, who's joining in from ICICIdirect.com. Pankaj, good to have you on board. Just going by some of the brokerage notes on TCS this morning, it's a bit of a mixed bag. For instance, JP Morgan is underweight, Morgan Stanley is equal weight, and you got Jefferies, which maintains a hold with target price at about 3,500. Just wanted to understand, given the kind of move that we've seen in TCS of late, what your outlook is on the kind of numbers that they delivered and how you're looking at the overall valuations allowing the stock to command its current market price.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. I think the global macro backdrop remains sort of weak, so we are still not sure. But I think the overall TCS numbers have been quite positive. I have been tad better than our expectation, both in terms of revenues and margins. I think US order book also is more than $4 billion, so that is good. I think the growth areas or engine drivers continue to remain US and UK. So roughly 70% of your revenues are largely sorted. I think the only issue largely is the continental Europe, where the outlook is still quite hazy, which contributes about 15% overall revenue mix. Our sense is that overall, while exit margins could be 25% this year, next year the margin improvement can be even more better because normal historical margin range has been in the range of 26 to 28 odd percent. And with US and UK sort of delivering well, both in terms of growth and also in terms of order book, we would maintain about low double digit kind of a growth in terms of top line and bottom line. Previous rating for us was a buy rating on a forward basis of about 22 times. Lastly, there will be some tweaking of numbers, but overall we are looking to sort of maintain a buy on this particular stock. The report is yet to sort of come out, but overall, I think the numbers are quite decent. I think unless and until the global macro backdrop sort of suddenly does not improve, probably sideways movement in the stock is what we would expect in the near term. But
Right.
in the second half, our sense is that the stock should do well.
Sure, second half stock should do well, but one important factor in TCS's result was the fact that the net headcount actually declined by 2,200. What does this mean? How should we read through this? Nikunj will decipher all of that for us with NGS as well as Millet.
Thank you very much.
See the possibility of a double-digit growth sustaining in FY24. That was the key headline for me from the entire interaction with the TCS management. Yes, they did call out that there is a bit of cash preservation which is underway as far as Europe geography is concerned, but they're seeing this as a more of a temporary blip. They do not see any big challenge as far as the fundamentals of industry is concerned. There might be a bit of churn in the nature of the deal wins to cost optimization and vendor consolidation, but there's nothing that worries them at this point of time. They called out that 2023 could be a year of tough and smooth for the IT sector. Let's see how it pans out, because for now they still do not have much visibility as far as client budgets is concerned. But as of now, there has been no untoward indication as well that there has been any cancellation or a big delay with respect to finalization of some of the orders. Let's finish that 360-degree analysis on TCS and bring in board Kunal. Kunal, chart wise, how does TCS look? And secondly, if you had to pick out the strongest chart from the IT sector, what would you call out?
So I think over the last couple of weeks, TCS has actually emerged to be one of the stronger names from the entire IT pack. So earlier it was Infosys and HCLTech, and I'm talking of it almost like a month and a half out back, where Infosys and HCLTech, they were the best performers from the IT pack, both in terms of the relative price correction as compared to the other peers, which was very less, and the rally as well, which happened for both Infosys and HCLTech with respect to the other peers. But then I think in the last couple of weeks, it's TCS which has gained back momentum. The stock, in fact, yesterday on closing basis has also come back above its 200-day moving average much earlier and much prior to the likes of Infosys, HCLTech, etc. So that would probably stage a strong set of outperformance. And I think the last 1 or 2 weeks of price action also indicates that the 3,200 mark, which was the weekly closing as well as the last 2 3 weeks of closing for TCS, that has acted as a major support. And the stock doesn't break below this 3,200 levels, I believe that there could be a high chance that the stock may continue to have this outperformance zone.
Okay, that's TCS for you in the last 52 weeks, giving negative returns of nearly 15%. But remember, it's fallen less than the rest of the IT index. Watch out for that counter in opening trade. Let's see how it performs. Well, minutes to go before the opening bell in the first trade. Let's talk about a lot of stocks that were buzzing yesterday and if they can continue to hold ground like that today. CG Power. You know, when the pandemic broke out, this is a stock that was trading less than 10 rupees. It climbed nearly 7% yesterday to hit a new 52-week high of 289 rupees. Pankaj Pandey, do you track this stock? Why is it defying gravity and continues to defy gravity?
So we don't have a coverage on this stock, so as specific to this stock, I will not be able to comment. But I think power is another sector where things are sort of underowned, and with SEB's sort of paying off power dues, I think this sector also can sort of do well, given the fact that power demand is expected to grow in 8 to 9 odd percent. And if cash flows or the money flow sort of improves, overall the entire value chain can see an improvement. So that way, some of the stocks, like say for example NTPC, are looking attractive to us. But I think specific to this company, we don't have a comment.
Okay, new 52-week high hit by CG Power. Other stocks that also did that were Godrej Phillips, Jindal Steel, REC, as well as PFC. So you just had Pankaj talk about power, REC, PFC also having exposure, but of course as power finance companies. Well, that time of the show where we get you all ideas from the broader markets, money-making ideas. Kunal, what's on your list today?
With a recently listed stock, I think over the last 1 year, of course, it's Fino Payments Bank. The stock yesterday managed to give a very strong breakout. It's more of a a flag pattern breakout for the stock, closing about the 260 plus mark for itself. So would suggest a buy with 300 as a target. Stop loss at 255.
Okay, interesting. Fino Payments. That's the top mid-cap bet coming in from Kunal. But Naresh, what about you?
So continue to have the bullish view on IDFC Limited, keeping a stop loss at 81 and a target price of 95. The stock has made a strong recovery. In the recent dip, it fell from 86 levels all the way down to 73, 74 the band, and has recovered back to 84 in the last 2 3 weeks, and is now in touching distance of that previous high, which was tested 3 times. The trend remains extremely strong on the long term. It has a breakout which has happened after almost 5 7 years. So the first leg was done, and I expect the next leg of the move, which could take it to 95 and even 110 in the medium term.
All right, let's get a move on then. And here's the news fatafat that we're tracking. The Supreme Court is expected to hear a petition seeking to hold the construction of a hydroelectric project after large cracks appeared in hundreds of houses across the Himalayan town of Joshimath. The apex court may be hearing the urgent plea filed by the local Hindu religious leader after land subsidence led to cracks in more than 600 buildings in the tiny town in Uttarakhand. Meantime, Rolls-Royce sold a record number of cars in 2022 as demand remained strong despite recession fears. The US was the largest market for Rolls-Royce, accounting for nearly 35% of the global sales. The company's SUV, which is the Cullinan, was the best seller in 2022. And far right former Brazilian president Bolsonaro was admitted to a hospital in Florida. This was after more than 1,500 of his supporters led the worst attack on state institutions since Brazil's return to democracy in the 1980s. Bolsonaro went to a hospital in Orlando with intestinal pains related to a stabbing that he suffered in the 2018 election campaign.
Meantime, a rocket launched by Virgin Orbit Holdings Inc. 747 aircraft failed to deploy its 9 satellites. It's an unexpected ending for the mission, which would have added Britain to the ranks of countries able to launch from their own soil. This was Virgin Orbit's 6th attempt to reach the orbit and the second in-flight failure. President Joe Biden, that is the US President Joe Biden, declared an emergency in California after a barrage of deadly winter storms prompted widespread power outages. Extreme downpours, high winds, and flash floods have caused at least 12 fatalities in the past 10 days. The storms also created power outages for hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses across the state. English Premier League clubs Manchester United, Tottenham or Liverpool are being targeted by Qatar sports investment over a potential acquisition according to several reports. The chairman of Qatar Sports Investments recently held talks with Tottenham chairman over a possible purchase of a stake in the club. Reports said that Qatar Sports Investment is considering either a total takeover or a stake in Manchester United or Liverpool.
All right, let's get those index calls going then. And here's what it is that our chartists are advising or flagging off as their index trade this morning. And let's begin by taking a look at what the word is on the Nifty. It's a whole recommendation pretty much. That's the consensus call coming in from our chartists. The pre-open rates after 2 days of a bit of sluggishness, we did see a bounce back. The pre-open rates mildly in the green. For the Nifty Bank Index, Kunal and Naresh say hold. Kush has a buy rating. And that's the market moodometer on the Nifty Bank this morning.
Okay, so that's the top fundamental ideas as well as the index calls. Since we're talking about fundamental ideas, Pankaj Pandey, give us your top fundamental idea. What have you brought for our viewers today? One idea.
So we've been liking a number of companies in the mid cap and small cap besides large cap. Mahindra CI is one of the companies where target price is 410. We feel that the domestic capex, what the company is doing, should drive better margins. And so there is a good scope for re-rating for this particular company. This is one of the topics for what we have. Besides that, I can sort of suggest some more. But if you're asking for one, this should be one.
So you said you like small cap, mid cap, large cap. कुछ छोड़ा है नहीं Pankaj Pandey. So for the large caps, what are your top fundamental picks?
So in the large caps, we like Reliance Industries. Here our target price is 3,050. We like HDFC AMC also because our sense is that their schemes have started to do well. Market share erosion, what was happening is reversing. And then I think within bank, we like IndusInd Bank. I mean, this bank is still trading at about 10 to 15% discount compared to its historical average. And I think largely most of the banks are doing fine. So this bank should do catch up in terms of valuation besides growth being in high teens and little or very less problems on the asset quality side. So this is one of the banks what we like, and we like Maruti. I mean, given the fact that this stock has underperformed for a good period of time, our sense is that with the spate of launches next year and overall growth for two-wheeler or for passenger vehicle, we are looking at double digit. So this company should be a beneficiary of that. In addition to that, I think margin recovery is around the corner for most of the auto OEMs, including in this particular quarter. And Maruti, from that perspective, is looking good to us with a target price of 11,200.
Okay, Pankaj, we let you go on that note. Thank you so much for joining us. The pre-rate settling in around 18,120.